That's correct. I didn't. And like I said, I feel humility about my coverage. I mean, it's not like I was asking him his favorite movie or his favorite color. We were talking about Putin. We were talking about other issues of national importance.
And you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't
seem
think
interested.
That's true.
Well, I mean, we'll start with the Lara Trump issue that you referred. Here it is.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. So in this clip from the Megyn Kelly show, we're going to watch Megyn Kelly confront Snake Tapper, Jake Tapper, on his new book exposing the Democrats for their cover-up of the Joe Biden mental health decline, right? Now, the interesting part about this is that she is going to confront him, and he is going to admit that he failed as a journalist to report all of the facts, but he's still going to deny that he was playing cover for the Democratic Party. So let's not waste any time, get straight into this video.
Leading up to the debate, which you anchored, that June 27th debate, 2024, there was a ton of news leading into that debate in that month. And we look back at your coverage and found that you ignored it. Not only did you ignore the Jackie Walorski moment when you had him 13 days later, but you ignored the freeze up that he had at the Juneteenth celebration. You ignored what happened at the G7 when he wandered off and Giorgia Meloni, Prime Minister of Italy, had to go find him. You ignored the freeze up at the George Clooney LA fundraiser. You didn't cover it. You only covered it after the debate, after George Clooney wrote his op-ed. Jake, nobody made you do that. There was your network at every turn was telling us those were, quote, cheap fakes. And you were not combating that narrative. CNN was actively misleading us on what our very eyes were showing us. That's the truth. That's the record.
But yeah, I remember that moment. And I remember that moment, the glitch at the immigration event, and not getting much attention outside of conservative media at all. And Alex and I are here to say that conservative media was right and conservative media was correct. And that there should be a lot of soul searching, not just among me, but among the legacy media to begin with, all of us, for how this was covered or not covered sufficiently. 100%. Wow. So, I mean, I'm not here to defend coverage that I've already acknowledged I wish I could do differently. I did ask Joe Biden to be transparent about his health records in an interview in 2020. I did ask him about the fact that voters
but then he wasn't.
Thought that he was not transparent at all. No.
He promised you that he would be transparent about his health records, and then he wasn't. And when you sat with him again,
at all.
including 1 month after the Jackie Walorski thing, you didn't ask him about it. You didn't follow up on the fact that he was falling up the stairs, that he was losing his train of thought regularly, that he was slurring, that he was incomprehensible, that he was getting lost on the White House lawn. You sat right across from him and you asked none of that, notwithstanding the fact that he had promised you he would be fully transparent about his health issues.
That's true, but I did ask him about his age and the fact that the American people had concluded that even though he said whenever anybody brought up the subject of his age, watch me. And I said, yes, they're watching you and they are concerned that you were too old for this job.
You know as well as I do that there's a way of, you can say, hey, there's this poll on your age, or you could say, you just forgot that Jackie Walorski was dead. You asked where she was moments after watching a videotape tribute to her. You lowered the flags at the White House after she died. This happened 13 days before you sat with him. There is a way of pressing a man like that on the actual infirmities to bring it home to him and to the audience, and you didn't do it.
That's correct. I didn't. And like I said, I feel humility about my coverage. I mean, it's not like I was asking him his favorite movie or his favorite color. We were talking about Putin. We were talking about other issues of national importance.
And you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't
seem
think
interested.
That's true.
Well, I mean, we'll start with the Lara Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you are
to
no
watch somebody on stage search for
this is so
questions.
amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel
Lara
sorry
Trump.
for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Lara Trump, thank you so much.
Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
Wow.
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well. And she said, she has said this publicly, so I feel fine sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter. But I mean, you know, after we did the research for this book and I realized how bad his acuity issues were, I called Lara Trump and I said, you were right.
She was totally right. That's the thing, because when I watched that clip, and I'm giving voice to what a lot of people watching the show are feeling, Jake, I feel angry because she was right. And not only did you not allow her to make her comments, but you seemed to try to humiliate her. You had a hostility toward the position, but she was totally right. And then you lectured her on how she was in no position to diagnose cognitive decline, which you guys do at length, including on page 4 of your book. You describe at length his cognitive decline, which is all she tried to do with you. But you had such a visceral reaction to her. And my feeling is that's because you didn't want to hear it.
No, I'm happy to talk about this. I didn't come here thinking that you weren't going to ask me about this. So I'm happy to talk to you about it.
No, I know.
The first time I saw the coverage of Lara Trump's comments, which were interpreted as her mocking Joe Biden's stutter, was in January 2020. I read it in conservative media. I read it in the Daily Mail. And that's where I saw that her comments were being interpreted that way. After those comments were publicized, it got a lot of coverage. And Sully Sullenberger wrote an op-ed in the New York Times criticizing her about this. So that's the context for that, that I was following up on a story that had been out there months before. This is also in the context of October 2020, a very intense time. People on the Biden side are saying crazy things about Trump. People on the Trump side are saying crazy things about Biden, including Don Jr. suggesting that Joe Biden is a pedophile. So that is the larger context. But as I said, her comments have aged well. My comments have aged poorly. I own that. But I think what is significant is, in addition to me owning that, the reporting that Alex and I have done, which is beyond just, and when I say just, I don't mean to diminish it, but the comments of Joe Biden making gaffes, saying things stupid, tripping, are all important and all deserved to be aired and all deserve scrutiny. But as you know, Megyn, because even though you look 30 years younger than me, we're roughly the same age, Joe Biden has been saying stupid things for decades. Okay?
I get what you're saying, but this minimizes it too, because it was more than saying stupid things. But I'm telling you, like over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down; it was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book. We knew, and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious he couldn't get through a 1-minute take. So they had to use those. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, and there was some reporting on that at the time, all of which the White House was denying. Now, with the current White House, I have some connections. With the Joe Biden White House, I had none, but you did. You did. And so while you've been in Washington 30 years, Jake, you guys, you and CNN have White House connections, but there was no effort, none, to get to the bottom of this. And now for you guys to write this book like there was a cover-up, it's like there was a cover-up and there was an attempted cover-up. It could only ever work if you allowed it.
And conservative media absolutely has every right to say we were hip to this and the legacy media was not. Now, I do not accept that I was part of a cover-up. I do not accept that I was just providing cover for Joe Biden. I think a lot of these clips are not fair. The one that is fair is the Lara Trump clip, and I own it.
Yeah, so we're going to stop it right there. Now, that was one of the best confrontation of Snake Tapper, Jake Tapper so far. But here's the thing, right? He might claim that he's not playing or he wasn't playing cover for Democrats, which is a bunch of bullshit, right? Nobody buys that. But what I do know, right, if he wasn't playing cover for the Democrats, he's definitely playing cover for himself now, right, with this book that he's brought out, because it's to save face. It's to save his own credibility. And the reason that I believe that is because the intentions for this book are completely wrong, right? In my opinion, the intentions for this book should not be to see if the Democrats were playing cover-up. We all know they were playing cover-up. The intentions of this book, if they were pure and had a real 100% intent to uncover something, what that something should be is who was running the country. Who was pulling the strings? Who was telling Joe Biden to do what he was doing? Who was telling Karen Jean-Pierre to go in front of the press and lie? Who was in control of the narrative, right? Forget that there was a cover-up. We know there was a cover-up. We know the Democrats lied. We know the media lied. Now, what we want to know was who was in charge, who was making decisions on behalf of Joe Biden, and who was running the country, right? So since that wasn't the question that's being asked, in my opinion, this book is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. This book is purely intended to help himself save any ounce of credibility that he might have, which is zero, in my opinion. This guy should really lose his job. He should not be a so-called journalist anymore. Get on YouTube like most of us here and just state your opinions and stop claiming that you're a journalist, because that's not what you are. It's not what you are, right? Because this book in itself also proves that this guy is not a journalist, because a journalist would have dove deeper and try to find out who was running the country. Not just there was a cover-up and people lied to the American people. We knew that, right? So your journalism stops where it only benefits you, Jake Tapper. That's why nobody believes you, trusts you. You're a snake. You're a coward. You're playing in our faces here, right? So you're not a journalist. Any journalist, a real journalist, if they were actually putting out a book like this, would have dove deeper and said, hey, I found out who was running the country. I found out who was telling Joe Biden to do what and go where and say what and whatever, right? Who was running things. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. I don't care about you coming out and saying you didn't do the job of what a journalist should have did. We don't care. We knew that. Nobody thought you had any credibility anyway. But you trying to save face the way that you're doing right now actually tarnish your credibility even more. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. Let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about this video in the comment section. Let me know what your opinions are. Hit the like button down below. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're brand new, consider hitting subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.